Mantras of the Divine Mother. Date 18th November. Our Divine Mother says the Divine's words comfort and bliss, soothe and illumine, and the Divine's generous hand lifts a fold of the veil which hides the infinite knowledge. With my blessing, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother. These are taken from the December edition of 2019 of the All India Magazine, page 22. A base and evil life can only have the effect of separating the outer being more and more completely from the psychic being, which retires into the depths of the higher consciousness and sometimes even cuts off all the relation with the body, which is then usually possessed by an asuric or a rakshasic being. The psychic being itself is above all possibility of degradation, says our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, aspiration, constant and sincere, and the will to turn to the Divine alone are the best means to bring forward the psychic. Fix a time every day when you can be free and undisturbed. Sit comfortably and think of your psychic being with an aspiration to enter into contact with it. If you do not succeed immediately, don't be discouraged. You are sure to succeed one day. I only ask that you let me know what time you have chosen so that I can help you more consciously, says our Divine Mother from the Collective Works of our Divine Mother, Volume 17, page 363. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is one of the decisive moments of the integral yoga when this psychic being, liberated, brought out from the wheel to the front, can pour the full flood of its divinations, seeings and impulsions on the mind, life and body of man, and begins to prepare the upbuilding of divinity in the earthly nature. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 23, page 115. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the direct opening of the psychic center is easy only when the egocentricity is greatly diminished, and also if there is a strong bhakti for the Divine Mother. A spiritual humility and a sense of submission and dependence is necessary. Next topic, psychic opening. Subtopic, two main foundations of the sadhana. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says there are two main things to be secured as the foundations of sadhana: the opening of the psychic being and the realization of the self above. For the opening of the psychic being, concentration on the mother and self-offering to her are the direct way. The growth of bhakti which you feel is the first sign of the psychic development. A sense of the mother's presence or force, or the remembrance of her supporting and strengthening you, is the next sign. Eventually, the soul within begins to be active in aspiration and psychic perception, guiding the mind to the right thoughts, the vital to the right moments and feelings, showing and rejecting all that has to be put away, and turning the whole being in all its moments to the Divine alone. For the self-realization, peace and silence of the mind are the first condition. Afterwards, one begins to feel release, freedom, wideness, to live in a consciousness silent, tranquil, untouched by any or all things existing everywhere, and in all one with or united with the Divine. Other experiences come on the way or may come, such as the opening of the inner vision, the sense of the force working within, and various movements and phenomena of the working, etc. One may also be conscious of the essence of the consciousness and descents of the force, peace, bliss, or light from above, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, sincere self-giving. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, then only can the psychic being fully open when the sadhaka has got rid of the mixture of vital motives with his sadhana and is capable of a simple and sincere self-offering to the mother. If there is any kind of egoistic turn or insincerity of motive, if the yoga is done under a pressure of vital demands or partially or wholly to satisfy some spiritual or other ambition, pride, vanity, or seeking after power, position, or influence over others, or with any push towards satisfying any vital desire with the help of the yogic force, then the psychic cannot open, or opens only partially or only at times, and shuts again because it is weaned by the vital activities. The psychic fire, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo, the psychic fire fails in strangling vital smoke. Also, if the mind takes the leading part in the yoga and puts the inner soul into the background, or if the bhakti or other movements of the sadhana take more of a vital than of a psychic form, there is the same inability. Purity, simple sincerity, and the capacity of an unegoistic, unmixed self-offering without pretension or demand are the conditions of an entire opening of the psychic being, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if desire is rejected and no longer governs the thought, feeling, or action, and there is the steady aspiration of an entirely sincere self-giving, the psychic usually, after a time, opens of itself. There is no approved method of bringing forward the psychic being. It depends on the aspiration, the growth of faith and devotion, the diminution of the hold of the mental and vital ego and their moments. At a certain point in this development, the screen between the psychic and the rest of the nature thins and begins to break. The psychic becomes more and more visible and active and finally takes over charge, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, the unselfish, uncalculating movement. Our Divine Mother says, the unselfish movement, uncalculating, is one of the most beautiful forms of psychic consciousness in the world. But the higher one rises in the scale of mental activity, the rarer it becomes. For with intelligence come all the skill and cleverness and corruption and calculation. For instance, when a rose blossoms, it does so spontaneously for the joy of being beautiful, smelling sweet, expressing all its joy of living, and it does not calculate. It has nothing to gain out of it. It does so spontaneously in the joy of being and living. Take a human being, well apart from a very few exceptions, the moment his mind is active, he tries to get some advantage out of his beauty and cleverness. He wants to bring him something, either men's admiration or even much more sordid gains yet. Consequently, from the psychic point of view, the rose is better than the human being, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, the psychic state. Our Divine Mother says, the divine, manifesting itself for the work on earth, appears to act as men do, but really does not. It is not possible to evaluate it by such standards of the obvious and the apparent. But men are utterly in love with their own inferiority and cannot bear to submit to or admit a higher reality. This desire to find fault, this malicious passion to criticize and doubt what something in oneself tells one is a higher reality, is the very stamp of humanity. It marks out the merely human. Wherever, on the other hand, there is a spontaneous admiration for the true, the beautiful, the noble. There is something divine expressed. You should know for certain that it is the psychic being, the soul in you, with which your physical consciousness comes in contact when your heart leaps out to worship and admire what you feel to be of a divine origin. Our Divine Mother says, the moment you are in front of what you feel to be such, you should be moved to tears of joy. It is a mean creator who stops to reflect. Yes, it is something great, but it would be worth admiring if it fell to my lot, if I were the happy possessor of this quality, the instrument of this superior manifestation. Why should you bother about your ego when the main concern is that the divine should reveal itself wherever it wants and in whatever manner it chooses? You should feel fulfilled when it is thus expressed. You should be able to burst the narrow bonds of your miserable personality and soar up in unselfish joy. This joy is the true sign that your soul has awakened and has sensed the descending truth and be shaped by it. I remember occasions when I used to be moved to tears on seeing even children, even babies, do something that was most divinely beautiful and simple. Feel that joy, and you will be able to profit by the divine's presence in your midst, says our Divine Mother. This will be continued tomorrow. These are the words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo and our Divine Mother.